You're watching Witness My Minis. I'm Peter, and today we talk about a shitload of paints. There is so many different paint brands out there, and to be honest, I haven't tried them all. Not at all. I do, however, feel like every paint brand and every paint range have something to offer. But it's more about learning how a paint behaves than it is just getting a new paint. So many times we hear about a paint that everybody says is amazing and we just run out and get it. And when we get home, we quickly learn that it's still just a paint. And it can be even worse if you get this paint, you get it home, you put it on your palette, and it doesn't even behave like you're used to. Then suddenly there is also a learning curve for you to learn the new product that you've just purchased. My guess is that for most of us, that wasn't the plan when we ran out and bought it in the first place. Many mini painters seem to look at certain paints as a fast and easy way for a great result. Like there is some kind of cheat code or something that gets unlocked when you buy a certain brand or range. I guess otherwise there wouldn't be this many questions floating around about what colors did you use? Can I get your recipe, please? Of course, this isn't true. There is something to say about mixing with few colors. Like at this when I painted this one. This was painted with only 4 colors and the video should be in the corner right now if you want to see when I did it. I do, however, understand the need of pre-mixed colors in the vein of getting shit done. Especially when painting armies and larger units, when you want a certain level of consistency. When you want a certain level of consistency across multiple miniatures. And of course, I too have paints that I often go back to. Paints I reach for without even thinking sometimes. So I thought I would list them here for you guys and tell them what I use them for. Of course, there's a lot more paints that I use on a regular basis, but these in particular have earned a special place in my workflow. Browns. Brown is an interesting color. I mean, I have a lot of browns, and we have a lot of browns on our miniatures. Brown can be mixed quite easily, but if you just want something quick, I tend to go to contrast colors. These 3 colors I often use when it comes to painting leather, wood, rope, straps. Yeah, you know, you get the point. Together, these 3 colors have the variety that you need to just get down a quick base for any brownish material. I use them a lot. Snakebite leather is a really nice starter for any leather. It's brown and on the yellow side. Gorgonta fir and wildwood is great for different tree material. The first one being more red and warm, and the second more going towards cold, desaturated and dark. It's great to have options so that all the wood materials do not look exactly the same across the whole mini. Reds. Contrast Flesh Terrace Red. This red is very saturated, and using it through the airbrush over a zenithal gives a great starting point for anything red. Chimera. The red. When using the first mentioned contrast color as the base color, this red is so saturated that it works in some cases as a final highlight on top of that. This is one red that everyone should own. It's the best red there is. Citadel. Wild Rider Red. If you want the final highlights of a red without it going too much towards pink, this is your color. Yellow and orange. Chimera Orange. I feel orange can be tricky. Is it red? Is it yellow? But Chimera's single pigment orange does the job. Highly saturated and purely orange. Scale 75 Artist. Intense yellow. Just one of those colors that I really like. You can hear it in the name. It's intense. Saturated colors like this can be so fun to paint with, and it's a great yellow to start out with. I even like to thin it down and airbrush it. It works really well. Vallejo Ice Jello. One of the quintessential highlight colors, one might say. Of course, there is a lot of different variants out there, but this one was the one that everyone recommended to me when I started out, and it hasn't failed me yet. For final highlights on yellow, this will bring the pop. Magenta and purple. Chimera Magenta. At the risk of repeating myself, this is like the red and the orange too. You can't go wrong with the pure pigment Chimera colors. They are just that good. First time I put this down on a Mini, I couldn't believe how much this popped compared to a Citadel color. It's just so good. Chimera Violet. I've used it so much for the deepest shadows on my Minis, or even for a dark lighting since it's so dark. Since it's so saturated, it can easily tint some water in an airbrush cup, and you can work with that to darken some areas around the Mini as well. Chimera Deep Rusto. This is an up-and-comer for me, from the signature set from Fabrizio Russo. Just like the Violet, it's really dark, but more desaturated. Lately I've been using this instead of the aforementioned Violet, because it's just better straight off the pot. It's still very highly pigmented, lends itself great to a glaze, and as touted by Fabrizio himself, it works great for leather and skin too. Since it's a purple, it lies in between the cold and the warm colors and can easily be shifted either way if you wanted to. He also goes to explain that colors like this allows him to make a chiaroscuro. Chiaroscuro? I know, I had to Google it too. Chiaroscuro. The use of deep variations in subtle gradations of light and shade, especially to enhance the delineation of a character and for general dramatic effect. Rembrandt is a master of chiaroscuro. Huh, I see. Blue. Contrast Achillean green. Wait, what? Isn't this green? In my mind, this is a blue color, and I use it to start off my blue OSL. Contrast Athematic blue. And talking about the blue OSL, this is a great color for making that blue light. Blue is one of those colors where regular fluorescent paint just isn't that great. I found that this works really well instead. Vallejo Glacier Blue. This color does the same thing for blue that Ice Yellow does for yellow. Awesome final highlights. Skin tones. Okay, so we paint a lot of skin tones in our hobby. There's a lot of naked flesh all over our Minis. And so for skin, it's awesome to have quick go-to paints. Skin can also hide a lot of variation and it can be very interesting to paint. These are the colors that I've ended up using the most. Vallejo Fairy Skin Tone Set. This set has it all, and whilst it is satin in color and not matte like most of the other paints that I prefer, that makes it very forgiving, and since all the intermediate steps from shadow to highlight is in there, it is a perfect fit for anyone starting out trying to learn painting skin. Chimera Undead Skin Tone. From the mixed signature set from Chimera, there is one color by Snake. Since I tried this the first time, I've used it a lot. It speaks to me as a purplish base color for skin. I used it here, I used it here, I used it here. Yeah, you get the point. This color just speaks to me. This is one of those times that the name I feel can be really misleading. I like it for living skin as well. Dollar Rowney Peach Pink. One I use sometimes directly over a zenithal. Through an airbrush it works really well since it's semi-transparent. You can really take advantage of a zenithal. And would you look at that? It's even in line with the Vallejo skin set, tone-wise. It mimics one of the steps on the set very well. So of course you can just work that in and go forward with the brush afterwards. Green. Contrast Plague Bearer's Flesh. This is just one of those contrast paints that I keep going back to. This is a yellow-green color, and I could have easily put it with the yellows. As you will see, compared to the other colors, it looks very yellow. Of course, it works great for what it is made for. Over Zenithal, it does its job for infected skin, but it's also great for adding interest and can be thinned down for filters and such. Golden High Flow Phthalo Green. These colors are great through the airbrush. Not needing to dilute them, just go straight from the bottle to the cup. This one green I've used a lot as a base of glow for my green OCell, and it's great for that. Scale 75 Artist. Spring Green. This is a vibrant green color that I really like because of the high saturation. It's really vibrant and I like it for what it brings to the table. Fluorescent colors. If you've seen my work, you know I like me some OCell. This set from Scale 75 was the first set and the only set that I have. It's what I've learned to use, it's what I've grown accustomed to, and I think it does the job. I'm particularly fond of the green and the yellow working in tandem. You can really make something intense with that, like I did on this piece in my collab with Zambies, or like I did on this bust from Big Child Creatives. The pink and the orange also works really well together. As you can see here, when I painted this Daimonic OCell, all the links to the OCell videos that I've just mentioned are down in the description. White ink. Of course, for the initial light map, I do that with airbrush. You can also thin it down with Flow Improver to create a pin wash if you want to create things that glow from the inside. It's great to have a thin, well-pigmented, but not too shocky white on the palette. Chimera white. A little bit thicker and a great in-between consistency from the ink to the ultimate next one. Schminke. This is the best white. It's really thick and of course you can thin it. If you have ink on your palette, why not do it with that for the best effect? It's so freaking white, so if you want the final bling on an NMM to create the ultimate contrast, this is your white. One tube will last you forever. Black ink. Same as with white ink, great to have it on the palette for thinning darker paints. Also, of course, can be used for blacklining with great effect. Scale 75 Fantasy Range Black. This is basically the only paint I use from the old fantasy and game range. I bought it when I started out and now I use it for painting my rims, since it's satin. Scale 75 Artist Black. This is the black I usually have on my palette. Since it is heavy body, I can dilute it as I see fit when I need it. Chimera's black is great too, but it's very runny compared to the other paints. So I tend to go with Scale 75 for black. Technical paints. Dirty Down Effect. Awesome effect paints for putting moss, verdigris or rust on your minis. I won't drag this on too long. If you want to know more, I have a video about them. It should be in the corner right now, or down in the description below. Typhus Corrosion. This is a texture paint that works great with the aforementioned Dirty Down rust. Getting the rust to have somewhere to set, and then you can go over it with a metallic dry brush. Since you have texture now, there is something for the dry brush to pick out. Metallic paints, silver. First of all, there is the airbrush metal colors from Vallejo. This is a great triad for laying brighter and brighter silver. Vallejo airbrush metal colors steel, duraluminum, and silver. Since they are so thin and cover so well, it can easily be wet blended too. Winsor & Newton Silver Ink. In all honesty, I just got this color. For starter, it's a brush destroyer. And it even says on the bottle that it's okay for airbrush. I wouldn't go near this with my airbrush, but when used as a final highlight, this is hands down the brightest silver that I've ever seen in a paint. Metal Paints Gold. Scale 75 Elven Gold and Viking Gold. I like them both, just different hues of gold, but awesome depending on what way you want to go. Vallejo Liquid Gold. This is so freaking good. This is one coat. It's not diluted with water, but instead you have to use white spirits, like with oil paints. If that isn't something that you're afraid of, you have to try it. There is different colored golds in this series. I have the one called red gold. This is one coat. The other ones I had to coat 2 or 3 times, and some of it still shows through. Oils. So when it comes to oils, there is a lot of mixing involved. So you should just get a base set to start with. But when you do have that, I would suggest that you get some of these colors also. Scale 75 Flow Skin Set. Again, painting skin is so important, and getting an oil set for it is awesome. This is like the acrylic set from Vallejo. It has everything you need for painting skin. You can go for the only oil approach, or you can mix oils and acrylics like I did when I painted this Ogre Butcher. Video for this should be in the description down below or in the corner right now. They dry matte and they tend to dry faster than regular oil paints made for canvases. Winsor Newton Indigo, the perfect blue shadow color. When oil painting, this is great for starting off with the pre-glaze. And if you have painted them in acrylics, it works wonderful as a wash in those deepest crevices where you want that shadow color. Winsor Newton Indian Yellow. Wonderful warm yellow as a foundation for gold NMM. Winsor Newton Alizarian Crimson. A more saturated red. I get a really bloody feeling when I look at this. I've even mixed it with UV resin once to make a gross base. Winsor Newton Terra Rosa. A great earthy red that can be used to dirty down stuff or for the base. So there you have them. Those are my go-to paints. I think I forgot some. Time will tell. If you have any questions about any particular paint, just let me know and I'll answer down in the comments below. If you want to support this channel, there's a number of ways you can do so. All of them listed down below in the description. And with that said, I just want to thank my dear patrons for sticking with me thus far. And thank you guys for watching. Bye bye!